instruments, the whistleblowers? What are they doing? Are the mechanisms efficient? If no, what should be done at this point in time to make sure that as pupils, students, teachers go back to school, they should be able to have a year free or with a reduced rate of corruption in the different schools? You are watching 360 Degrees, and we are beaming live from Upwe in Douala, the economic capital. Do not move a muscle. We shall be right back. Like I said, if you're just joining us, we are beaming live from Douala. And with me today, I have different stakeholders, teachers and anti-corruption activists, as well as the journalists that is in the house, people that will be making us to understand our talking point of today. We shall go straight to welcome them. Let me begin from my far right. He's a very regular face here, Kezia Robert. Is a teacher. Most of you know him only as a politician, but he is a teacher and a politician. Thanks once again, sir, for renewing our collaboration.
Greetings to you, greetings to my co-panelists, greetings to all Cameroonians, especially all widows that are preparing to send back their children to school in the absence of their husbands. Special greetings to all those mothers in the villages that will be selling corn beans to send their children to school. Special greetings to all those women that are cripple or handicapped in one way or the other that will be struggling to raise money to send their children to school. I wish them all the best and to promise them that, of course, they will enjoy the sweat of their labor when the time comes.
For sure, they will enjoy the fruits of their labor. And by him, we have Mr. Hope Nembo Law. Did I get the Nembo Law very well, sir? Yeah. You're welcome on set.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity, and I must say it's an honor for me to be part of this panel. And I also wish to extend greetings to all the viewers out there, greetings to the parents who are doing their best to ensure that their kids go to school hinge-free. And we are here, of course, to give our own insight on how the reopening can be successful. Thank you.
The holidays is almost finished. How was it?
Yeah, the holiday was fruitful, I must say. I must commend all the various stakeholders, the schools, the proprietors, the headmasters, and the teachers for doing their best to ensure that the pupils do not go back to school like they left. And I think this school year is going to be successful with all the mechanisms that we put in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And from to my far left, I have Metambi Peter. I want to be sure that I got the Metambi well, sir. Yes, he is an anti-corruption activist and the national coordinator for strategy with the Now movement. You're welcome.
Thank you, Hassan, for giving me the honor to be on your panel today. It is really a pleasure, and I also want to say hi to my fellow co-panelists, and hoping that the millions of Canal viewers will be satisfied at the end of our contribution in as far as fighting corruption in our beloved nation is concerned. I also want to say a special hi to my friends Victor Club Bonaberi. Today being a Saturday, I left them and I understand what is happening. And another greater thanks to my Naveto family, Boya veteran, Boya Town veteran. Once again, thanks for the honor for me to be here.
Thank you so much. And by me, we have Tessa Bax. She's a journalist here in Douala. She has been here several times, and she's here again. Tessa, thanks for renewing your confidence in 360 Degrees.
It was very important that I should be here. I'll greet everybody, and I'll thank those who are listening to us, because we have to talk about an issue which is very important. We're talking about corruption. We are talking about back to school, because we have understood that if we don't go back to the roots, to kill something, it is never going to end. So I think that today we have everything ready for people to be able to know how they can do the back to school and how they can really fight on what they send into the mind of their children.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady. Please, you would permit us, before we dive into the crux of the matter, let's revisit some of the news-making events of the week.
In a tragic escalation of violence, 3 policemen were shot dead in Butungi village in Boya subdivision of the Southwest region. armed men suspected to be separatist fighters stormed the Bitungi neighborhood at about 10:30 p.m. The policemen were stationed at the makeshift security post nearby Bitungi Market along the road leading to Munya. The ambush claimed the lives of 3 officers from the 2nd District Police in Munya, the Muliko Police Station, and the Boya Central Police Station. 2 of the 5 policemen stationed at the post managed to survive the attack. The incident has left residents of Bitungi in a state of shock, with sudden violence disrupting calm in the community. Today, inhabitants are indoors. Neighborhoods are compared to cemetery. Reacting to the Bitungi attacks, defense and security forces are reinforcing security measures.
The story goes that once the corn fufu was ready, served, and eaten, the effect was very fast. Instant vomiting and diarrhea, and that is how heads started falling. Children and mother, 6 in number. That is 6 deaths out of 8 persons who, till this date, receiving medical attention. Free medical attention, the father of the house, 72 years, and his younger brother, 62, are receiving. And the prognostic is good. Chances they will come out of the situation. The food poisoning, according to hospital report, due to vomiting, diarrhea, and others, many feel is from the corn, which must have been contaminated. This especially as the 2 people who only ate the soup showed no sign of any problem. Since that fateful Monday, August the 26th, the village of Ngolambele, some 10 kilometers from Dimako, East region of Cameroon, still live in fear. The house has been sealed. The rest of corn flour collected for analysis.
D'après les informations recoupées, c'est le couscous qui aurait été à l'origine de ces décès.
This village, specialized in massive maize production, also uses phytosanitary products to stock them.
Parce que le village, c'est un bassin de production de maïs. Les gens travaillent énormément. Et nous nous frottons à tout moment avec ces produits-là.
As the precautionary measures like investigations are ongoing, the villagers are still doubting if it is food poisoning or poison.
This is the state of National Road number 5. Here, traffic moves at a snail pace as the road's severe deterioration causes significant losses for road users. What was once a well-maintained highway has now turned into a makeshift agricultural track riddled with potholes and muddy patches. The frustration among transporters is palpable. This looks more of a farm road. It's like we're going to a farm. This is too much to bear. Government should think of rehabilitating these roads or constructing afresh. This road is as old as 60 years. It has expired. Government should engage in repair works. We don't deserve this type of roads. I don't know how to describe it, but it's really bad. Stretching nearly 219 kilometers from Douala to Bafoussam, this infrastructure constructed in the 1980s has been the site of numerous accidents over the years. During an on-the-site visit in June, the SD of Mongo, accompanied by officials from the company responsible for the road's refurbishment, assured the public that their suffering would soon be a thing of the past. However, this brief delay has extended far beyond expectations. Some time ago, we had a company that came in with caterpillars, and they came with authorities, and we thought they would launch works, but we were shocked that nothing has advanced. The head of state should come in and address this problem. With the rainy season in full swing and traffic increasing daily, the thought of navigating road number 5 is a daunting task for its users. As they await the long overdue repairs, their patience is wearing thin. 17 newly approved textbooks for this academic year are still absent on the bookshelves.
Nous pouvons chiffrer à 40% les livres qui manquent encore sur le marché.
This is the second time I am coming to this shop. The first time I came and wanted to buy books, they weren't available.
Tous les livres ont été changés.
The books have been changed, but they do not have them in the shops to satisfy the clients.
Satisfaire leur clientèle.
President of the National Union of Booksellers and Stationers of Cameroon, Apollinaire Ngassar, explains the reasons behind the scarcity.
Déjà la sortie tardive des listes, parce que
it was in April that the book list of secondary education was published, while that of basic education was published in July. We are informed of difficulties at the level of the seaport, where containers have been there for a while now. Parents and booksellers have expressed concern about the unavailability of books on shelves. In the meantime, the child will start school without books, and the time to find money to buy the books, the child might end up being sent away from school, whereas it is not our fault. Unavailable books in bookshops include biology textbook for Form 3, 4 and 5, geography textbook for Form 1, French textbook for 6e, and mathematics textbooks for 7km, amongst others.
Welcome back. We want to thank the newsroom for those reports. Mr. Metambi, I'm beginning with you. What is corruption in the context of education before we dive into the different elements? So,
corruption in the context of education is a usage of power, is the abusive use of power for your personal gain. That is just the simple definition of corruption. And when we look at our present context and in line with our debate of today, which is our schools becoming a breeding ground for corruption activities, you have to understand that looking at corruption at the micro level becomes very challenging. But when we have to look corruption at the macro level, it becomes interesting. Because when you have a vision or when you have a project and you want to realize that project, one of the things that you key into place, which is a serious factor, is first of all our environment. Our environment is too gullible. Our environment is weak. And wanting to erase corruption in our environment is really, really difficult. So I'm saying that the only way solving corruption at the level of our school will be to start by solving corruption at the macro level. When you read there's a Cameroon Tribune report of August 2017, whereby you see figures of CONAC, they undertook a survey, and in that survey, the feedback of that survey is that 6 out of 10 elementary schools practice corruption. When you go to secondary and high school, you have 7 out of 10. When you go to university, you have 8 out of 10. Now, when you have very high figures like that, it has to be a call of concern. And most of the times when we have this back to school as what we're having now, CONAC always launches campaigns all over the national territory. When you even visit most of our public schools, when you go there, you will see signboards, no to corruption. But again, year in, year out, the syndrome is gradually growing. The syndrome is gradually growing. That's why we term corruption as cancerous. You know, with the cancer, when it starts, and you don't do something to cut it, cutting it, you see it mutate, it evolves, and it might start from that too. One day you find yourself, the corruption, the syndrome or the disease is right inside. So to me, combating corruption, we cannot reduce it only at the school level. It has to start at the macro level. So for now, let me rest my case.
Okay. Kezia, you are in the field. What are the different forms of corruption that prevail in our various schools today?
I'll be very practical so that those in the house will definitely understand those various aspects in which we will face corruption, both at the level of the private institution and at the level of government institution and at the level of the administration of schools. Talking about administrations of schools, especially teachers, there are still ladies that they have been forced to give their body before they are employed as teachers in some private schools. We still have schools that you will sign this number of period, but you work for this number of period, and this particular amount of money will be given to you, and at time you are not permitted to sign any contract.
That really happens?
See, I'm privileged to have been the private sector for a good number of years as a teacher before becoming a government teacher, so I know how the two institutions the function. And at times it's great we say the truth so that the institution that be will be able to tackle and solve the problem if we don't say it that way. After that level of administration, we had the level of integration of children into this institution. Let me take first of all the government schools, for instance. You know, it's very cheap. The school fees is beneath 20,000 and maybe PT of 25,000. That will give a total of about 45,000. But you realize that in Douala there is no, I don't think there's any private college here that is of standard of less than 100,000 for an academic year. So you realize that there's this huge desire fight to go into the public institution schools so that it will be cheaper. And we all know at the level of Form 1 how people are integrated there, how much they give. And
we
also,
don't, all of us, we don't know. Eh? Maybe you tell us some of those experiences.
So there are some aspects like that. I'm not saying that all schools do that, but there are still some institutions that practice that. And we even have it at the level of, you see, they even impose a time that parents should pay PTA before even paying the school fees, so that by then they're already guaranteed with the PTA. And there are some parents that cannot afford the two at once. You must pay the school fees and the PTA. That's why you see at the beginning of my of the program, I just appreciated widows that don't have their husband, that are hustling, and they need to pay this amount of money. Then when you go now into the general aspect now in the administration, like for instance in public schools, in private schools, when a teacher is paid 50,000 for a month, how does he manage that? And then you will see a child to come out and tell us, I want to pass, this is what I have, this is what I have. It happens. There are teachers that beg students that, do you have 1,000, help me, I don't have transport to go home. It happens. I'm not saying it because, no, I'm in the field. There are teachers, you know.
I understand you very well, because last week we had a program on teachers' plight, and we saw terrible messages like the one you are just citing.
I am saying that there are teachers that move to, you know, anyway, in our school, we have children of the poor and children of the bobo. There are teachers that go and tell a student that have not eaten. Do you have 500 something? It happens because they are not well paid. And when it happens like that, that child give you 500, and the child one day tells you that, say, I don't want to fail your subject, what happens? Those are the various aspects in which corruption comes in. It is not only at the level of the university that such things have been bought. It has not come in at the level of the secondary education. So we see corruption at the level of the relationship between the students and their teachers, the teachers and the administrators, and the parents of children and the school administration, which I've just explained the various aspects between parents and the school administration are those that bribe for their children to integrate. Teachers and school administration already explained that is about this issue of period, you know, and they impose that you must have a contract. Whereas when you go there, they'll turn around, you will not sign any contract. There is no institution that have been put in place by the Ministry of Secondary Education to really protect them. Because when you go, you say you want a contract, they say they'll see what to do. Start, well, what do? You don't have another option. So at times you are gullible. So those are the problems, the aspect of corruption, which practically I do experience and see in the field.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nembo. Is that the same picture you have at the level of the primary? Because it's painting a very terrible picture that if we don't handle, things may just be going very bad.
Yeah, I think the educational body, we can say, is one. So what, like my elder brother was saying, we need to tackle the corruption at a macro level, because what affects the top will definitely also affect the bottom. So what my brother is saying is practically true for the primary sector also. There are hundreds and hundreds of youths out there without a job, and when they come in to have a job, they are being cajoled into doing what they thought they would not do, because there's no means out there for them to provide for themselves. They are, you can say, they are desperate to get into the field, and they don't know. They need money. So when they come there, anything that goes. So they just accept what...
They're forced to comply.
Yeah, they are forced to comply. So I can say what my brother is saying is 100% correct.
Okay, Tessa, when you look at... do you have some personal experiences as a journalist, maybe in line with the phenomenon in schools?
I would say that as a student, I was faced with that. Okay. And I would like to get back to the way he presented the corruption. He gives us the impression that it's a virus which is very far from us. It's something that you cannot fight.
Incurable.
I'm sorry, we are talking about things that we do and we live day to day. I was a young student, and when I was to go for first school, I was given an extra amount of money to go and give to the principal of the school. It was not the money of the school. Even the way they made me to go and give that money, I understood I was buying my place. Okay. You understand it? I had moments where we saw how a parent would come to the school, talk with the teacher, and they will use the bravest guy there, the guy who was really brave there in the class, and tell him that, okay, hold the money and take care of this particular student. We had it in class. So today, when we stand and we talk about corruption like a virus which is coming from very far, I'm sorry, it's something that we live every day. We, the parents, what do we do in front of the children? Even what we study in school, what do we teach to the children? When we talk about civics, do we still have civics? Do we see the children on Mondays going to sing the national anthem like we used to do? Let's look at all those elements.
I think they do.
Not really. Not really.
How would they do that when we have school campuses that is just one building? There is no space even for assembly.
They don't.
You go, yes, there are schools authorized.
In the public schools, they do.
Of course, they do.
Some do, but not all.
That's it. That's what I wanted to point out, because we should not talk about corruption like something which is flying above our heads, and that we look at it and say that we have to fight corruption. You fight it in front of you. He talked about those teachers. When I look at most of the teachers, I'm sorry, they don't have the skills to be teachers. Because let me tell you something, we have reached a level in Cameroon where we have people who come and say that, let me just do it. Let me try and do it. They're the ones killing actually the sector of education. Because when you have people of quality, even you, the owner of that school, you need that person of quality. When that person will tell you that I cannot teach for this amount, you are going to plead that he should come. But when we have people who are not ready to face the realities of life, because if you went to do a particular course, you should know that that course fits with you. We have a problem today. When we get into schools, we look at what the neighbor is doing. We look at the way the neighbor is doing. Is it going to give money? The next day we call the parents will call the child, say that you are going to do the same thing as that person. So automatically, we see a child who is already faced with the fact that he has no particular way of deciding for himself. He enters a system where he has understood that you look for money, you buy your place. And I think that if we have to talk about back to school, we should instead look at the way we are going to get into the schools to talk to the children. Because today, with that corruption, we cannot stop it. It's not by going up there that we'll stop it. It's from the roots.
Yeah.
The child today, when you tell him that, go and carry me that bucket, the child will carry the bucket and come and look at you that, how do we do? Give me something. Which is something already proving that he is corrupted. And when he knows that you are the auntie who does not give money, what does he do? When you send the child, does he go again? No, he will not go. Because in his mind, you need to be giving him something to do the things. I think that we are talking about back to school. If you have people here who are in charge of working against corruption or whatsoever, they should instead look on how to get into the schools. Like now they're doing the registration. We need to have those people of the corruption sector seated there and watching what is happening. Yes, we have to check on it, because I will tell you that I had to carry an amount of money. I cannot explain why I was having that money. I had to go and give it to an elder. You imagine that you're giving your teacher or whosoever an amount of money because your mom sent it. And he takes the envelope, the way he puts the envelope in the bag like that, the next moment they tell you are starting on Monday. It is already a sign that money is the strength. And the parents are not conscious that when it passes through the child is learning that corruption is the way. So we have to work on the programs to be able to work against corruption. It's not a virus which is running around the place.
Yes.
Okay, let me just pop it there.
Okay.
You see, I belong to a civil society organization called Now Movement.
Yes.
And that organization was conceived, to help Cameroonians, both in the public and the private sector, to fight against corruption through good governance and integrity. And the theme and our motto for our organization is responsibility, integrity, and patriotism. And one of the things we also do is to raise an awareness on patriotism, so that whenever function or responsibility you have to commit, wherever it is, you need to know, you need to apply integrity in it. With that said, I listened to my brother Kedia. He was so much dwelling on the consequence. Right now, we have rentrée scolaire, and we all know that this is that period, of the year whereby a head of establishment, they make a lot of money, especially public schools. Yeah. Why? Because most private schools are too expensive. You go to let me say you go to a primary school, they will tell you the school fees is 500,000 francs. You go to another primary school, a year, so even pay 2 million francs. Who regulates all those amount of money? We find ourselves in a system whereby it seems as if citizens have been abandoned to themselves and we have to fend for ourselves. And when you look at teachers in those various schools, you will see proprietors are fat, riding in big cars, while you see the teachers trekking and climbing on bikes. And there is nobody to say a full stop. Those who we pay via our taxes. And you see, when you go to our public schools, most of our parents who don't even have, the level of poverty all over the whole place is just too much. You will see a parent, for him to go and pay 500,000 francs per year, that parent would prefer maybe to go and give 50,000 francs so that the child will be admitted. That's the reason why I said, if we want to look this corruption problem at the micro level, it becomes very, very challenging. Our environment, whenever you want, as I earlier said, you cannot succeed in any project without factoring your environment. It's just like wanting to build a 10-story building and then you go to a marshy place because you see something like ground, you say, no, that is where I will build, without actually making sure is the soil resistant enough to accommodate this structure. And those are the things we need to see. If we begin to dwell only on the consequence, it will just be another song maybe singing for the next 5-10 years, and the disease will keep growing.
Okay. Mr. Nembo, do we have parents who willingly come to corrupt teachers and school administrators?
That's a very technical question, and the answer is yes. There are parents like that. There are parents who, according to them, they love their children so much that they are willing to do everything for them to succeed, according to them. So they are willing to buy the future for those children. Like she rightly said, right from primary school, they start buying right from primary school. There are pupils that they just come to school, they don't pay attention. Right up to secondary school, they don't pay attention because they know that at the end of the day, their parents are rich and their certificates are guaranteed. That's why when they go into the job market, like she rightly said, they don't know what to do. Those are the type of people that if their parents don't also buy them the job, they end up doing what the employer wants them to do.
If I should get you well, it means that even the pupils and the students are not victims, but rather perpetrators of the act as well.
Yes. Yeah, they are being cajoled. At that young age, they don't know what to do. Their parents are supposed to lead them on the right path. But unfortunately, the parents of nowadays, they are the ones directing their children to the wrong path. If at that tender age you start teaching your child how to give money for a purpose that is not right, you are already teaching that child that before I get to the university or into the job market, I have to get my money ready to buy my job.
Keja, I'll be coming to you. Let's take a practical example of what we are trying to say here in one report. We shall come back to discuss.
Dans la ville d'Akonolinga, située à 135 km de Yaoundé, le Tchoko ou encore la corruption n'a plus de secret. C'est une pratique monnaie courante.
On demande l'argent, non, pour inscrire l'enfant à l'école, on demande l'argent. On peut demander même 50 000 pour trouver la place.
Chaque jour, on vit ça.
Tu demandes comme tu es venu comment. Tu comprends déjà moralement ce qu'on a été dit dans matière finance.
Ménagères, commerçants, mototaxis, presque tous ont déjà été pris au piège de la corruption. L'argent d'abord.
On inscrit pour rien. On demande l'argent, je donne l'argent. Ce qu'on me demande, je donne.
Il y a beaucoup de taximans qui n'ont pas de permis, n'ont pas de papiers. Ils doivent quand même donner les 1000 francs par jour, chaque jour.
De peur de se retrouver en fourrière, on vit de nos motos.
Tu poses un dossier. Déjà, tu veux faire un concours. Tu fais bien ton dossier, tu parviens à remettre le dossier ou acquis de droit. Mais par après, bon, ça n'aboutit pas même malgré tout ce qu'on te demande.
Ces pratiques sont récurrentes dans cette ville. La Commission nationale anticorruption a été interpellée à plusieurs reprises. À partir d'ici, justement, la CONAC a décidé de venir noyer ce fléau dans le fleuve Nion, inondant tout le Cameroun de pratiques anticorruption à tous les niveaux.
That was a report from Delphine Fonkutene, who caught up with the inhabitants of Akonolinga in the central region. A report done as a sideline to the visit of CONAC on the field to sensitize against corruption at this eve of back to school. Kedia, so far, how do you see the measures of CONAC? Are they yielding fruits?
First of all, I appreciate what they are doing before letting them or telling them to do more. You see, my first outing on your platform, I was talking about how corruption is manifested, in which acts, in which areas in these schools. Because you need to first know the definition of corruption, know the manifestation of corruption, how the act is taking place, the relationship, the two people involved. That's the manifestation. Before you have the consequences, when you now know the manifestation, how it is done, then you can be able now to fight it. So the anti-corruption institutions that we have them should know how it happens. If you know that, okay, corruption happened when they are meeting children into Form 1 in government schools, you will know that, okay, this is the period you need to face. If you know teachers are not signing contract, they are exploited, those are the things they need to know. So that's why I was explaining that the manifestation is very important, because when you know the manifestation, you definitely know the consequences and how to fight it. Now, talking about these institutions that have been put in place to fight corruption. I appreciate their first aspect because they believe in giving cancellation, giving education, reminding people of patriotism. Now, where my problem is that when you preach that and the person goes somewhere and the person is vulnerable, the person is forced to do the same thing. Even when you are so patriotic, you love the nation, and you go, you are asked 50,000 for your child to become a student. What do you do at that moment? Do you decide to be patriotic and you allow your child back home? Or you decide to be corrupt and allow your child to go back to school? So this institution should have a good transparency on how children are integrated in these government schools. Especially, we have children with...
but let me ask you, what is so difficult to denounce when you find yourself in such a vulnerable situation?
Good question. What is so difficult when you find yourself in such a vulnerable situation? Because the person finding himself in such a vulnerable situation is first of all vulnerable himself. And we have this difficulty of someone that is vulnerable to be able to denounce. There is one of such thing. Let me just go 1 second and talk about this. We have an issue of a little girl that gave birth and claimed she was raped. But she didn't denounce it. She was vulnerable at that time, but she didn't denounce it. And the practical step about all this is for those involved parents to be able to denounce it. But the problem we have now, those set of institutions insult me that I'm dull, children are dull, so I really want anything possible so that my child should be that maybe that could be the salary for education, counseling. That is really what we can do.
Yes.
Then these institutions should really be decentralized and present in doing with this institution, ensuring is people that have common trans, other have just first school. Some people have B, some have A. So when they say there is an interview, it becomes a problem because they decide at the interview. So you see a child with list A not being integrated into the lycée, but you see somebody with B being integrated. Yeah, you see somebody with list A, list B in first school and common trans not being integrated. You see somebody that have just B in common trans and even failed first school is integrated into the lycée. So such decisions are supposed to be making so that we have a clear criteria. But if we depend only on the interview that is being done with these children, then there is nothing we can do because the person doing the interview is judging, deciding based on his own conscience.
Tessa, when he says what he says, he gives the impression that such interviews are just for formalities. People know what they want.
But we know it. That's what I was talking to you about, that I was there, I witnessed it. I was in my list A, but I understood that at the last moment they called and said that there is no more place for your child. So I had passed, but why was I to carry the money to go and give to have that space? You understand that already the children understand that there is something which is fishy. Because I struggled the whole of the year. I was amongst the best, but at the end, my parents are home crying and begging for money around to give me a place somewhere. You understand that we are already putting that corruption in the minds of the children. He said it. There are some children, they think that when they come to school, they don't need to go too much, to learn too much. They're even there to spoil the other kids. Because in fact, they go there, they are the ones who get distracted with drugs. They are the ones who go and start the prostitution, fighting for phones, all the like, and destabilize the whole system. So we have to be conscious of one thing. We think that corruption is far, but it's around us. The students, I consider a child learns from birth, because there are some babies, they know that mommy carries this bottle and gives to me. When the baby sees this bottle carried, what does he do? He opens the mouth because he has learned that is my bottle. So us, the parents who go to school, what we do actually is what we are putting in the heads of the children, and that's where we have that corruption, which is going to be like a cycle. Even if you go now and say that we are going to put somebody to check whatsoever, it is what has entered the children's mind. So we need to have constant training and make sure that the children know what is wrong from right. Because when the parents do certain things in front of the child knows that the father is always right. So what the father has done is something that is right, and is going to reproduce it.
Let's look at the Now movement. What can we say? Maybe the Now movement has been able to change this.
And promoting good governance. That is our own way, because we have raised an awareness first within ourselves, and we think that we can extend it beyond ourselves. We invite people, try to talk to them. I will give an example. I've gotten into a business whereby when I went to finally have a contract of that business, they asked me for some money. I told that guy, to hell with you, I will not give you that money. How many Cameroonians are up to that mindset to say no to that? I said, bro, I prefer to walk on foot other than polluting myself and do things that I always preach against. I also earlier said
that is for you who knows exactly what you have to do.
Yes.
But for the others who do not know.
I also earlier said our environment is too porous. The level of poverty is just too much. Even there are moments that you will not want to do something, but the situation around you will compel you, like or you don't like it. I don't think a widow, just as he said, would really want to go and corrupt a teacher. A widow confronted with money to go and pay exorbitant school fees, 100, 200, 300,000 francs a year, is obliged by virtue of that condition to go to a lycée and then tells the head teacher that please, and then money is, there is a transaction. Also at the level of the lycée, they also think that this is their own harvesting season, and nobody wants to let anything go. So there's powers that be we have created a lot of whistleblower all over the whole place. They'll be doing the same thing year in, year out. I think they created Canal more than 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But what are the results? I think that when you put something in place and you have unsatisfactory result, it is incumbent for you to ask at least some minimum question. What do we do next? It's not only an issue of sensitization. No, I mean that one will take us nowhere. A country starts with a family, just like your house. You cannot tell your children not to drink alcohol when you come back every day drunk. It does not make sense. The only way for your child not to drink alcohol is to copy from you. You have to be his model. Because we human beings, we are product of influence. You know, our tomorrow action is guided by how we see some other people doing things. So I continue to say, wanting to solve corruption at the micro level, not that it is not possible, but it's very, very challenging. And until we start at the top level, whereby we see models, whereby we see parents who are driven by integrity. If we cannot get to that stage, every day we will keep singing this song.
I have the impression that we have gone into politics.
Let's take one reaction from the very many. Hello, sir, it's a terrible thing. I may say it is devilish, especially at the level of the university. I experienced a case wherein students buy marks and girls students buy with their bodies. It's terrible. He wanted to react to what he was saying.
Yeah, concern and the message is not something new again. They call it sexually transmissible marks. That's what they call it. It's something very shameful. Right to the university is that, like my brother was saying, he thinks that it could only be solved at the macro level. It's not only at the, it's everywhere. And there are several stakeholders in this corruption issue. Everybody has to be held accountable. The parents, the teachers, the proprietors, the principal, everybody is involved. All of us have roles to play. If each and every person plays the role correctly, I think we can applaud ourselves that we have tried to do something correct. We cannot only focus on the top and allow the bottom. The proprietors have to make sure.
He is more of a top to bottom approach, whereas she was more of a bottom to top approach.
He's still the same.
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is everybody has to work at the same time, because now it's not like the corruption is being transferred. The corruption is already there. Everybody is already involved. So now, what could be done? A way forward.
Yes.
If the teachers are being paid, like you rightly said, if the teacher is being paid, I don't see a reason why the teacher will be accepting petty bribes from parents. But you cannot present a teacher 150,000 francs. Meanwhile, his salary is 50,000 francs in a very challenging economy like the Douala.
50,000 francs at times is not even regular.
It's not regular. There are time proprietors. There are schools that they owe teachers for months.
Yes.
And a parent comes with 150,000. Even if you are as upright as what, you start.
The devil starts coming.
Yes.
Yes.
As I was saying, the fight of corruption is a process. The government have put in place the institution to tackle that. Those institutions cannot work if they don't have information. And for them to have information, that's why we are sensitizing the people first to know what corruption is all about, that it is evil. When you sensitize them, you educate them like this, it now gives them now opportunity now to denounce it. And when you denounce it now, and you report to the institutions that have been put in place, it will be easier for it to be tackled. So it is a process which you need to sensitize the people to even know how to denounce it, because at times denouncing it is even a problem. So it is a process. For some of you that you have your own big grammar, micro, macro, top to bottom, bottom to top. Me, all I'm telling the people is that the cause of poverty is corruption. If you participate in corruption, you are participating in the progress of poverty in our country. So what you need to do is denounce and report it so that it will stop and things will get to normalcy. That's all I can say with regards to that process.
If I should go on what he is trying to promote, I think he was talking, if I'm wrong, he was talking about the high people there.
So we can cure it through models.
And I understand that he's going towards politics. But today in Cameroon, can we talk of an opposition party which has really worked on bringing out corruption? It's not possible. So it means that everybody has failed somewhere. Even opposition today, when they stand, they make noise. People follow. Families come out to support those leaders. And the next day, what do we see? That in the night, something happened because the speech is no more the same. So we are already at a level where there is nobody who is like an example. So right now, we need to get back to school and try to arrange it from there. Because if a politician...
How do we arrange it from there?
That's what I was saying.
That is where the problem is. How do we start arranging it from there?
Let me interject. I want to believe that maybe we are taking the debate out of it.
Let's just come back.
It's better we come back. You know, we have people whom we have entrusted them with some certain powers.
Opposition leaders?
No, not we are not paying opposition leaders.
Okay, I was just referring.
Yes, we have people in our society with whom we have entrusted to them certain powers to undertake some certain activities. And they get paid by virtue of us paying our taxes and have a responsibility toward us. Now, when you are the head of a school, right, we all know the level of poverty in our environment. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in a society whereby everybody is very gullible. Money. Because we have just simply copied what is coming from up. And because of those attitudes, we all know them. It is not political. We are talking about corruption. It is just like a household. You have a father, you have the children, and you have the wife. Who regulates the functioning of the house? It is a father.
Yes.
And once the father is not like a model, you give rules and you are the first to go against those rules. How do you expect the children how do you expect the children to respect those rules? So what I'm saying is that we have a society, and this society has gotten regulations, and there are people who are in charge to manage and to make sure these regulations are well applied. Now, once we are weak in applying those regulations, it will automatically have a multiplying effect. And part of that multiplying effect will be corruption. And corruption can only thrive in an environment dominated by poverty.
Thank you so much. We're coming back to TESA, sensitization, but the situation is the same. What is so difficult in punishing such school administrators that maybe consider back to school as their own farm, like you said?
I would say that when we are talking about such matters, the first thing is to know that in a country there is opposition. It is a natural thing. The opposition is where all the voiceless go to express so that the opposition can carry and go ahead. And it's a bad thing because when the population is suffering, there is a leader whose leader is able today to tell to the schools that do this way, change it this way, we are going to make the change. But actually in Cameroon, we don't have those leaders. That's why I say, if today we have those CONAC and all the like, we have people who go on the field to adjust it, we need to get back to school seriously and work on our programs. Because what do we give to the young generation? Because know that all the actions that we are undertaking, like he said, there are teachers who go and beg for money from a student. Is it normal? How can you do such a thing and expect your child to respect you? It cannot be possible. I cannot come with my food and my teacher is there trying to look at what I've brought today to eat. You see, it is already something very complicated. So we need to go to the basics. Even those teachers, he was talking about integrity. We need to have time to learn integrity, teach integrity to people. What is integrity? Integrity is something that when you lose, you are no more a human being. You are no more somebody to whom they can confide anything. They cannot give you any trust. And the moment you cannot be trustworthy, know that automatically you cannot exist in society. So now we have people out there who are not trustworthy. Because the moment you give them 100 francs, they don't know that you're trying to make them have 1 million. They will carry the 100 francs and start running because they will say poverty. And when we are talking poverty, there's no country in this world which is completely rich. Even that South Africa that they celebrate today, they have places where there is absolute poverty. But the thing is that you should not be poor in your mind. And that's what we have as problem, poverty in the spirit. Because you can be a parent, you don't have too much money, but the education you give to your child makes that the president can be amongst your children because you taught him the elements that make you to be that person that everybody would like to follow. The big leaders, when you look at them, they don't come from big families. They actually become rich people, but they are leaders from the start. It depends on what the parents have been putting in their minds. It depends on the environment where they school, where they live. So today we should not wait that it should come from others, because we have seen that those who are the leaders today, they grew up in that corruption. Everybody will tell you that it's 42 years of this. Yes, it is done. So now we need to get back to the root and know what we give to the children.
Thank you so much. Getting back to the root, is there a need for a retouch of our educational policies or the curriculum to be able to fight this from the base?
Yeah, I think there's a dire need for everything, for us to press the reset button, because a lot of things have gone wrong, like a lot of things. Who does what in the educational system? If you even think about the school fees, how come a primary school collects school fees for up to 1 million or 2 million? What criteria does the government use to approve such school fees in the primary sector? Who does what? There's a lot of things have gone wrong, and people nowadays see it as normal. It is not normal. Who does what? The inspector comes to a primary school and is inspecting until the inspector leaves. A school that doesn't have a playground, a school that doesn't have where pupils can stand and sing the anthem, but the inspector has come and gone, and the school is functioning for years.
So don't even have time.
We have this phenomenon of schools. Like last week, we heard about 700 schools were locked because they did not meet the normal standards. But don't be surprised that by Monday 9, all of those schools are reopening. What is happening?
That is why I'm saying that the ministry need to have an inspector that follow up all those schools.
Do you think that they don't have the inspectors?
The inspector is already fat.
No.
I listened to one.
We have pedagogic inspectors.
I listened to one CONAC report, and they said one of their difficulties is that some of the anti-corruption units in some ministries are not collaborating, which means that they are kind of retaliating some of the CONAC measures.
Let me say something. From Rome Point right up to, let me say, Bekoku, we have more than 200 universities. And when you visit those different universities and have a look on their different signboards, you will see very fat courses they are reading. There are courses living from one end to the other. Now you begin to ask, how come about these schools are offering all these courses? Who accredited them? Are there any regulation? And then you will even see some of our children who will go and get admission to read one of those courses. And then tomorrow when you go to class, they will tell them, oh, they don't have a teacher, and you have already paid more than 500,000 francs.
They will try to convince you to
They'll try to convince you. 1 year along the line, everything comes to a standstill. And those are the challenges we are facing. That is why I keep saying, if we don't have a global policy that regulates how we go to school, that regulate how university comes into existence, that regulate where do you position your school. If you go, for example, like Bikoko around the park, when you create an institution around the park, what do you expect from the product
better than bus.
Surrounded by bus.
So we're even close to markets.
Permit me, we have many messages, but let's just take this one. It's pretty long. Good afternoon to the great minds in the studio. I am a PTA teacher. To be honest, I am really sorry the way things are being handled in our country. As a teacher in the private sector, trained in a government training school, and not integrated yet, we are going through a lot. People insult teachers for always being poor, right up to the tomato sellers in the market. Imagine you go for a school and then the proprietor agrees to pay a teacher 50,000 francs for 9 months, and after 2 months, they don't still pay the salary again, telling the teacher to depend on repetition classes. So that is why you see the issue of repetition and corruption becoming rampant today in schools, and because teachers need to survive. let government officials step in, especially at the basic level, to rescue these teachers. One thing I will point out here, most of us depend on repetition classes and the support from parents.
Now, what I was saying...
Briefly, because we are going out...
What I'm saying about this is that you just got what the teacher said.
Yes.
Now, if you've signed your contract and you are not paid, who do you go to? The gendarmerie? Is there an inspector at the level of the delegation of basic education that you go there? Or you need to go to the gendarmerie, they send it to court. Then you, a poor teacher, look for a lawyer to go and defend you?
Thank you so much.
So that's what I'm saying. That
Thank you so much, Keja. Your last word, Mr. Nembo, we are running out.
Yeah, what I would like to say is schools and the government needs to put down, lay down guides and policies for parents to follow. Because like he rightly said, you might have a worry with a school bed, you cannot denounce because you yourself are vulnerable. We have a lot of vulnerable parents. Something needs to be done about this back to school.
Thank you, Tessa. Your last word, please.
I would just say that we need to train everybody and we need to understand that it starts from the root. So don't think that it's going to come from far. It starts from home. Work on it.
What my last word is to say that teaching used to be a very noble profession.
Thank you.
One. And the teaching environment used to be an environment whereby we came and build not only having knowledge but building our morality. But today it has been transformed to some kind of a racketeering.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our producer is indicating that our time is up. Please, if you did miss out on anything, do not forget to watch the rebroadcast on Wednesday at 11 p.m. And just to indicate that the Lions will be playing their match on Saturday 7. We don't yet know where, but the truth is that the match will be played. And equally, today is the last day for voters registration. If you are still at this point that you have not had your voters registration card, you have just 30 minutes to rush and get your voters registration card. So thank you so much for watching, and till we meet again next Saturday. Stay blessed.
Canal 2 International, toujours plus près de vous.
Ils étaient 12 orchestres des cabarets à Douala et 15 orchestres des cabarets de Yaoundé au départ. Après 4 semaines de compétition, devant les maestros Toto Guillaume et Victoria Essono, l'orchestre du cabaret La Pergola, l'orchestre du cabaret La Perla et l'orchestre du cabaret Elixir Paris de Yaoundé ont été qualifiés pour affronter à la finale nationale l'orchestre du cabaret The Voice, l'orchestre du cabaret Saga Africa et l'orchestre du cabaret L'Ovalie de Douala. Ce mercredi 4 septembre au cabaret Neptune Garden de Bonamoussadi. 5 millions de francs CFA cash à gagner. Des talents exceptionnels, des performances uniques. Qui remportera le trophée Music Bold Cabaret saison 2? Venez vivre le clash des meilleurs orchestres des cabarets de Douala contre ceux de Yaoundé et le show live experience avec la sensuelle Mini. Carton d'invitation à retirer au cabaret Neptune Garden à Bonamoussadi ou par appel au 699 44 55 29. Music Bold Cabaret saison 2. C'est avec le soutien de Canal 2 International et Music.
Avant, j'étais comme ça. C'était très difficile de vivre avec des kilos en trop. Heureusement, j'ai trouvé le programme minceur idéal. J'ai appris à manger plus sainement et les produits naturels que je consomme sont juste formidables. Regardez, j'ai presque perdu tout mon ventre. J'ai déjà perdu 11 kilos, mais je suis très satisfaite et nous sommes des milliers à l'aide. Si toi aussi tu veux maigrir, enregistre le numéro et...
Imaginez le Cameroun réussir son plan triennal spécial d'import-substitution. Imaginez le Cameroun devenir première puissance économique mondiale. Le programme Leadership, fidèle à sa mission de capacitation entrepreneuriale, s'engage aux côtés de l'État du Cameroun à offrir une formation à 1000 jeunes entrepreneurs et porteurs de projets sur toute l'étendue du territoire national. Du 2 septembre au 2 octobre 2024, saisissez la ferme opportunité de conquérir des investisseurs, d'intégrer un réseau dynamique d'acteurs économiques, de gagner des marchés publics et privés, de donner à votre entreprise une gestion compétitive et une gouvernance durable. Inscription au www.programmeleadership.org.
Après un mois de compétition de haute facture, sous le haut patronage de Jean-Stéphane Biacha, secrétaire exécutif des synergies africaines, la commune d'arrondissement de Douala 2e, sous la coordination de maître Denis Fampou, organise les finales de la 14e édition du tournoi de la paix. Un événement solennel, festif et grandiose qui viendra marquer l'épilogue de ce tournoi qui aura prôné tout au long de son déroulement de véritables valeurs du vivre ensemble et raviver les élans de paix si chers à notre pays. Le tournoi de la paix 2024 aura été un grand moment de fusion intercommunautaire en impliquant les 33 quartiers que compte Douala 2e avec 16 équipes garçons et filles âgées de 12 à 14 ans. Sponsors, partenaires, mécènes, recruteurs, venez soutenir cette dernière articulation de cette initiative citoyenne. Rendez-vous donc ce dimanche 1er septembre 2024 au stade municipal David Dagobert Fampo pour les finales de l'acte 14 du tournoi de la paix.
Une peau impeccable, c'est la meilleure amie d'une femme. Découvrez-vous avec Brie Cosmetics. Brie Cosmetics, une marque luxueuse de beauté conçue pour améliorer les problèmes de la peau.
Ouvrez grand les yeux et entrez dans l'univers merveilleux de Loisiland. Loisiland, c'est le plus grand fun center d'Afrique centrale. Retrouve-nous à Douala Grand Mall au premier niveau, près du food court. Et à Yaoundé Place Warda, face Palais des Sports. C'est waouh! En famille, entre amis ou collègues, vous souhaitez passer des moments inoubliables de retrouvailles ou de team building. Vous voulez offrir à vos tout-petits et adolescents des moments récréatifs de rêve. Il n'y a rien de mieux que Loisiland. Notre bel espace féerique high-tech, c'est l'idéal pour la célébration de vos anniversaires. Découvrez nos attractions en réalité virtuelle, des aires de jeu 3-4 niveaux, jeux d'arcade avec de nombreux lots à gagner. Nous sommes présents sur Facebook. Tapez Loisiland. Contact 654 800 400.
Comme toutes les mamans, je puise mon bonheur dans les plaisirs et le bien-être que j'assure à ma famille. Un petit déjeuner sain et riche les matins, des petits plats goûteux et des goûters succulents toute la journée. Et le bonheur est au rendez-vous. Mais savez-vous qui est au centre de tous ces plaisirs et bonheurs que je leur procure? La margarine Jadida, bien sûr. Fabriquée à base d'huile végétale en l'état. Facile à étaler sur la tartine, délicieuse et riche en vitamines A et E. Elle est parfaite pour la santé et le bien-être de toute la famille. Parce que leur plaisir et bien-être n'ont pas de prix, choisissez la meilleure qualité. Choisissez Jadida.
Elle est si jolie, belle femme africaine. Je vous la présente, c'est ma traîtresse et maman. Elle est mon refuge, cette beauté africaine. Sans elle, je me sens faible. Moyo, moyo, moyo. Bine bisaya jamutime, aye mama yeme. Maria longeli matoyara, mahele benemboye. Nyambe so de la mama yeme. Mama wenu sinema ega, wenu eva mejela. Mama wenu sinema ega, wenu eva mejela. Somura loma wea wandae, mama ye na ye buzni bisuwa, mama ye mama Elle veille sur ma vie. Je remercie mon Dieu d'avoir une telle maman. Elle prie jour et nuit pour que jamais je ne tombe. Je suis perdu sans elle. Moya, moya, moya. Bisaya jamutime, aye mama yeme. Mama, maliga wangele batoyara. Malele bemembo, ya mezo so dera mama ye. Mama wenu timena eva, wenu timena eva menzela. Mama wenu timena eva, wenu eva menzela. Samura loma wanga ye, mama ye na ye muzi.
Dans tes bras je l'abrite tout. Tu soignes mes blessures quand cette vie m'a roué de coups. Tu es mon robot, ma seule envie de rester mon asile dans ce monde fou. Le ciel t'a fait mère, en plus d'être une reine, tu es ma vie, mon seul souffle. Maman, tu es mon rêve, tu n'es plus là mais je t'aime.
Un peu haut, je t'en prie, bénis mon mari, que sa journée se passe bien, que ta grâce l'accompagne. Toi-même tu sais que c'est lui qui dirige cette famille. Allons-nous, donne-moi la force de le soutenir, parce que son corps c'est mon corps, sa richesse est ma richesse, toutes ses peines sont aussi les miennes. Je partage la vie avec lui. N'oublie pas que tu m'as promis de toujours